For years, Prince William has been bottling up about his mother's death and how it affected him and his brother, Harry, who was 12 years old at the time of her death.
Her 20th anniversary year feels like a good time to remember, all the good things about her. And
William revealed how he coped with the death of his mother at a very tender age. He also disclosed its heavy toll on his brother and the royal family. What are the details of William's painful disclosure about Diana's death?
What has impressed you most about her?
I think just the qualities that are essential for somebody in a leadership role.
Join us as we reveal the details of one of the most catastrophic losses of the British royal family ever. William's journey through grief. Prince William was just a young teenager when he lost his mother to the cold hands of death in 1997.
Those shocking allegations about Princess Diana's death. Authorities now reviewing the new and sensational claim that she was actually murdered by the British government.
He has expressed his deep-seated pain and frustration regarding the circumstances surrounding her death. Williams has also spoken about the relentless pursuit of truth and the parallels between the media's treatment of Princess Diana and his own experiences during the grief period. He and his brother, Harry, describe her loss and burial as a traumatic event. They felt disconnected from all emotions and couldn't bear the expectations placed upon him to maintain a composed public demeanor. His honest reflections offer a rare admission of the painful impact of grief and loss, particularly for a young person facing such a public tragedy. While there are several theories on the cause of Princess Diana's death, William believes the paparazzi and photographers who relentlessly pursued her were to blame. At the time of Princess Diana's death, William was 15, while Prince Harry was just 12 years old. However, during the 20th year memorial service of their mother, Harry also revealed that he grieved bitterly for the first 2 years following her death. But he also revealed something shocking. Keep watching to find out. According to the Prince of Wales, there was no family support or attention after the death of their mother. The British royal family's tradition of emotional restraint further complicated William's ability to grieve. The rigid culture meant that open discussions about grief were not permitted, leaving William to have to deal with his emotions and feelings all by himself. Unfortunately, while he was avoiding the recurrent thoughts of grief, he didn't suspect that his mental health was breaking down. One of the most heart-wrenching aspects of William's grief was his regret over his last conversation with Diana. On the night she died, she had called to check in on him and Harry, but the two were eager to play. They rushed the conversation. He later said he would always regret that moment, wishing he had spoken to her longer. This what-if scenario haunted him for years. The weight of missed opportunities is a common experience for those who lose loved ones suddenly. Still, for William, it was magnified by the public nature of Diana's death and the media noise surrounding it. During another media session, Harry admitted that he only cried once following Diana's tragic passing at her burial. But one couldn't say the same of William. Harry further admitted that, unlike William, he could shut down all his emotions. However, this decision would come back to haunt him. According to him, he had to consult a therapy session to help him confront the emotional pain he had buried for years. He spoke candidly about the transformative power of therapy, explaining that it allowed him to process his grief in ways he had previously avoided. By sharing their experiences in this grievous journey, William and Harry become vocal advocates for therapy, encouraging others to seek help. If you are wondering why Princess Diana's death caused her children so much pain even after 2 decades, then you are not alone. But we have to take a short walk down memory lane first. Keep watching for the interesting revelations ahead. A tragic night in Paris. It was late August 1997, and Princess Diana and Prince Charles had just divorced. Diana was a very young mother, about 36 years old at that time.
HIV does not make people dangerous to know. So you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it.
She was ready to begin a new chapter of her life with Dodi Al-Fayed, the son of Harrods department store owner Mohammed Al-Fayed. After they met, the lovebirds announced that they would be going on a trip to Paris. Shortly after their announcement, Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed spent 10 days on Mohammed Al-Fayed's yacht, the Jonakal, before flying from Sardinia to Paris on August 30th, 1997. Upon arriving in Paris, the couple visited Villa Windsor and the Ritz Paris Hotel, owned by the Fayed family. Princess Diana spoke to her sons on the phone during their stay, and Dodi visited a jewelry shop. Neither of them knew the catastrophe ahead of them in Paris. Later that evening, to avoid the paparazzi and the 30 photographers waiting outside to take their photographs, they left the hotel through a rear exit. The lovers were driven by Henri Paul, the deputy head of security in a black Mercedes-Benz. Dodi's bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, was in the front passenger seat. Unfortunately, while driving back to Dodi's villa, neither Princess Diana nor Dodi Fayed used their seat belts. However, Trevor Rees-Jones was reportedly buckled up. Until then, no one knew a fatal calamity would strike the couples. At 0:23, Henry Paul, a few meters from Dodi's villa, lost control of the car inside the Pont de l'Alma underpass. The vehicle struck a Fiat, veered off course, and collided head-on with a support pillar. According to the footage, their car was said to be traveling at a very high speed, exceeding the tunnel's speed limit. Unfortunately, the accident was fatal, with significant damage to the front of the car. Eyewitnesses reported smoke and the presence of photographers on motorcycles near the scene during the crash. Tragically, Diana, Dodi Fayed, and Henry Paul lost their lives in the accident, and Rees-Jones happens to be the sole survivor. According to Dr. Frédéric Méliès, a French doctor who was traveling the route at the time of the incident, there were a total of 4 victims. 2 of them appeared to be dead with no reaction or breathing, while the other 2, seated on the right side, were alive but in severe condition. That's not all. He also explained that the front passenger was screaming and breathing, so he could wait a few minutes. But the female passenger, a young lady, was on her knees on the floor of the Mercedes with her head down, struggling to breathe and in need of quick assistance. He said he ran to his car, called emergency services, and grabbed a respiratory bag for first aid. Unfortunately, the firefighters arrived around after 40 minutes. But before they arrived, Dodi and Henry were already pronounced dead at the scene. Here's something saddening about the incident. An eyewitness reported that 7 photographers, including paparazzi, did not care about rescuing them during the incident. All they were after was taking the pictures and video of the scene. While they were trying to rescue Princess Diana from the wreckage, according to firefighter Xavier Gourmelon, her last words were, "My God, what's happened?" Immediately, she was pulled out from the wreckage. She suffered cardiac arrest, but all efforts to revive her, including open-heart surgery, were abortive, as Diana tragically passed away at 4 a.m. Surprisingly, Princess Diana's death continues to generate controversies today. For instance, there are a lot of questions and uncertainty about the cause of the death. There are also questions on how the driver, who was with Diana all through the journey, had high levels of alcohol in his blood, as revealed by autopsy. There are several revelations ahead. Keep watching to know more. Controversies and conspiracy theories. The circumstances surrounding Princess Diana's death have been the subject of speculation and conspiracy theories, while the official investigation concluded that the accident was caused by driver error and intoxication.
You believe there was a conspiracy to kill Dodi?
They been murdered. Dodi and Diana being murdered, definitely. I am the father who knows everything.
Many, including Mohammed Al-Fayed, believe there is a more sinister plot involving British intelligence agencies and the royal family. Others blame the relentless pursuit of paparazzi and photographers. However, one of the most mysterious and enduring aspects of the case is the alleged presence of a white Fiat Uno at the crash scene. Witnesses claim to have seen the small vehicle in the tunnel, and traces of white paint were later found on Diana's car. This evidence suggested that the two vehicles may have made contact, possibly causing the crash. However, despite extensive efforts by French investigators to track down the driver of the Fiat, no conclusive identification was ever made. At one point, attention shifted to Levantan, a taxi driver who owned a white Fiat Uno and was known to have repainted it soon after the crash. He denied any involvement, and the investigation did not pursue him further. The inability to locate the driver of the Fiat or determine its role in the crash has been a central point of contention, leading many to believe it was not just an ordinary hit-and-run incident, but a deliberate one. Another key element of the conspiracy comes from Princess Diana herself. In a letter she wrote to her butler, Paul Burrell, months before her death, Diana expressed fears about a plot against her life. She claimed there was a plan to stage an accident involving brake failure that would result in a serious head injury. Given the nature of her death, the letter's accuracy was so precise. The specificity of her prediction prompted widespread suspicion, particularly since she mentioned her ex-husband, Prince Charles, in the context of this alleged plan. That's not all. The role of Henry Paul is another subject of interest among investigators. According to autopsy results, he had a high blood alcohol level at the time of the crash, far beyond the legal limit. After the autopsy, some investigators framed him as a reckless drunk driver who endangered Diana, Dodi Fayed, and himself in a high-speed chase to avoid paparazzi. However, people began doubting the investigators' claims after the Ritz Hotel released the CCTV footage of Diana's time with them. In the footage, Paul was well-behaved and walked normally without any signs of intoxication to indicate he was under the influence of alcohol to the degree stated in the toxicology report. Adding to the doubts, Paul's family questioned the accuracy of the toxicology report that indicated unusually high levels of carbon monoxide in his blood. Some medical experts also raised concerns about the official explanation that suggested that the observed symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning were not evident in Henry Paul's behavior. Also, Professor Athol Johnston, a clinical pharmacologist, raised some doubts about the official narrative surrounding Henry Paul's blood alcohol levels. He questioned the authenticity of one of the blood samples and pointed out the unusual consistency in the results from different samples taken from Paul's body. These inconsistencies have fueled speculation about potential tampering or manipulation of evidence, further complicating efforts to investigate the tragic accident. Another conspiracy theory about Princess Diana's tragic death was the rumor that she was engaged and pregnant at the of death. According to Mohammed Al-Fayed, Diana and Dodi were murdered. While speaking in court in 2008, he told the judge that the royal family did not want a non-Christian among them. He went further to suggest that Diana was eliminated for daring to marry an Egyptian Muslim. Al-Fayed also claimed that Diana was pregnant at the time of her death. Although the official autopsy done by Dr. Robert Chapman found no evidence to support his claim. Dr. Alan Schiller, head of pathology at New York's Mount Sinai School of Medicine, countered the British doctor's report. In an attempt to clear the controversy, investigators analyzed blood samples found in the wreckage of the car. However, the results indicated the absence of the human chronic gonadotropin, a hormone always associated with pregnancy. Additionally, interviews with close friends of Princess Diana revealed that she was not pregnant and was using contraception. These findings contradict the claims made by some conspiracy theorists, including Mohammed Al-Fayed. Richard Tomlinson, a former MI6 officer, made controversial claims implicating British intelligence services in the tragic death of Princess Diana. He alleged that MI6 was monitoring Diana, had connections with her bodyguards, and had even orchestrated the crash as part of a larger plan. These claims have been widely disputed and dismissed by official investigations, but they continue to fuel conspiracy theories and public interest surrounding the event. According to his allegations, Paul-Henri was said to be dishing MI6 with updates about Diana and other members of the real family. However, evidence discrediting Tomlinson's claims was found in drafts of a book he wrote about his time in MI6 before he was jailed in 1998 for breaching the Official Secrets Act. There are also serious questions about how the French authorities handled the crash's immediate aftermath. The tunnel was cleared, cleaned, and reopened to traffic hours after the accident. Typically, the crash site would be preserved for a more thorough investigation in high-profile incidents of this magnitude. Critics argue that this hasty cleanup may have been an attempt to erase vital evidence. Witnesses at the scene claimed police never contacted them, and particular testimonies, including those involving the white Fiat, were dismissed or ignored. This apparent disregard for key witnesses is proof of a cover-up for some. The 2004 British investigation, Operation Paget, was launched in response to growing public skepticism about the French inquiry. Its goal was to address conspiracy claims and provide definitive answers. The final report concluded that Diana's death was a tragic accident caused by reckless driving, and no evidence of a conspiracy was found. It dismissed claims of MI6 involvement, discredited the letter Diana wrote to Paul Burrell, and ruled out any wrongdoing by Prince Charles. To make matters worse for Prince William, his relationship with Harry and their father has gone sour in recent years. The sad details of their family union will leave you completely shocked. Fractured bonds. Harry and Charles.
Because he's been through something similar. He knows what pain feels like. My father and my brother, they are trapped.
The relationship between Prince William, Harry, and their father, Prince Charles, has been marked by tension and unresolved emotional wounds.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been asked to vacate their British base, Frogmore Cottage, the couple's spokesperson has confirmed. They were reportedly told to leave the property by Buckingham Palace in January, days after Prince Harry published his memoir, Spare.
While their bond was shaped by mutual grief and royal obligations, it has faced significant strain following the death of Princess Diana. For William, the loss of their mother at such a young age was a defining moment, and he has since expressed feelings of abandonment and disappointment in his father's response. While Charles focused on maintaining his royal duties, his children felt emotionally neglected.
The ideas that I was putting forward. And I think we have demonstrated that the original ideas that we worked out in those days can actually be made to work.
When they needed their father's support the most. One of the key sources of this tension is rooted in Diana's troubled marriage to Charles. The world admired Diana as the people's princess, but she endured emotional turmoil behind closed doors due to Charles's relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. Diana's famous comment that "there were three of us in this marriage" demonstrated the emotional strain. For William, witnessing his mother's unhappiness left a profound psychological impact. While talking about this period, he believed his father could have done more to support and protect Diana. This sense of helplessness resurfaced after Diana's death, as William felt that Charles once again prioritized Camilla and royal duty over his role as a father. The most unsettling aspect of this situation is just ahead. We mentioned earlier that Diana wrote a letter before her death. In this letter, she claimed that her life was in danger, referencing fears of a planned accident involving brake failure and a head injury. This letter fueled conspiracy theories about the circumstances of her death, and while no official evidence implicated Charles, the fact that Diana felt compelled to write such a letter raised suspicions. This revelation may have deepened William's distrust of his father and the royal institution. The idea that Diana felt unsafe within her family echoed Harry's later experiences of feeling vulnerable within the royal system. Following Diana's death, Charles took on the role of both parent and public figure.
The battle against climate change is surely the most defining and pivotal challenge of our time.
And his decision to have William and Harry walk behind their mother's coffin became a defining image of royal stoicism. While the world admired the boys' composure, William later described the experience as emotionally traumatic, likening it to an out-of-body event. Despite being only 15 years old, he was expected to project strength, an expectation rooted in the royal family's tradition of emotional restraint. William later criticized this approach, arguing that it forced him to suppress his grief instead of processing it naturally. For William and Harry, Charles's insistence on maintaining a stiff upper lip mirrored the royal family's philosophy of prioritizing appearances over emotional well-being. Another critical moment in Charles' fractured relationship with his children occurred during Harry's marriage to Meghan Markle.
They didn't want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol.
As the British media began to scrutinize her, Harry sought support from his father.
I think there's a sort of sense of both disappointment and exasperation at the palace that the couple feel the need to keep going on about how miserable they were in their royal existence.
But he claimed that Charles stopped answering his calls.
And every single time I've tried to do it privately, there have been briefings and leakings and planting of stories against me and my wife. You know, the family motto is never complain, never.
Harry described this moment as one of the most painful betrayals, reinforcing his belief that his father was unwilling to stand up against the system. William and Harry saw echoes of their mother's experience, where Diana faced relentless media attention with little protection from the royal family. By failing to intervene, Charles once again became a symbol of the monarchy's indifference to the personal struggles of its members. The children's frustrations with their father are deeply tied to the concept of duty. While Charles views duty as an essential part of being a royal, the children see it as an obligation that often comes at the expense of personal happiness and emotional health. William's openness about seeking therapy and advocating for mental health awareness shows a generational shift in attitudes. Unlike their father, who internalized pain and presented a tough public image, William chose to confront his emotional wounds head-on. His decision to speak publicly about his struggles directly challenged royal norms. The emotional struggle between William and Charles is not merely a family dispute. It shows a more significant clash of values. For Charles, upholding the monarchy requires sacrifices, including emotional restraint and adherence to protocol. This approach feels outdated and harmful to William and his brother Harry. His decision to break the cycle of generational pain is a conscious rejection of his father's parenting style. He has stated that he wants to raise his children in a more emotionally supportive environment, free from the rigid demands of royal life. This decision continues his mother's legacy. Diana was known for her hands-on approach to parenting, often prioritizing her son's emotional well-being over royal protocol. Thank you for joining us. What do you think about the French investigations into Princess Diana's death? Drop your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed watching the video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, click the following video on your screen and you will enjoy it. Royals bow to each other, you should be able to tell who is higher in the ranking of the royal system. According to Hello Magazine, Kate Middleton's actions during the coronation were particularly scrutinized. Some interpreted her choice not to curtsy as a subtle signal of personal reservations about Camilla's role as queen consort. However, it is essential to note that no official statements or reports confirm such tensions. Instead, Kate's behavior may align with a broader trend of modernizing the monarchy's image and practices. By opting for a more subtle gesture like a nod, she may have been balancing tradition with practicality, ensuring her actions were respectful without appearing overly formal. As it stands, Camilla, the queen consort, ranks higher than Princess Kate, so it was expected that she would bow when she met with Camilla and then bow again after they had departed from each other. But that never happened. Instead, Kate simply nodded at the queen consort in a subtle way when she met her. Quite true, in the eyes of many, this gesture can be easily overlooked, but that doesn't mean it is excusable. But then, this is Princess Kate Middleton we are talking about here. Being married to Prince William and having ascended the throne to become the Duchess of Cambridge and the Princess of Wales, she had the opportunity to learn about all the traditions of the British royal family. It could have been from public events or even family gatherings. Anyway, the royal tradition has always surrounded her, yet here she was, as she boldly looked the queen consort in the eye and disregarded one of the most crucial things: bowing. In truth, this sacrilege could only mean one thing to both the family and the public. Princess Kate does not approve of Camilla's position as queen consort. It's possible that the whole scenario would have played out differently if it had been Lady Diana as queen consort. Wouldn't you agree? One thing we've come to realize is that most of the royals don't really like Camilla, especially with the way she succeeded to the throne. From time to time, not just the royals, but the citizens can't help but wonder, what if it was Lady Diana as queen consort? Things definitely might have turned out differently, and there would have been less tension in Buckingham Palace. When all things are considered, things might have even been different with the princes. Maybe Prince Harry wouldn't have left the palace, and the princes wouldn't have had so many conflicts all the time. So let's say that the princess had approached Camilla with this mindset. This could explain why she acted the way she did. Still, we are trying really hard not to make excuses for Princess Kate here. As things are, Princess Kate would most likely be the future queen consort once Prince William becomes king. Basically, she is posing as an exemplary figure for those after her line of succession. That being said, it wouldn't be fair to always put feelings first before making decisions pertaining to royal affairs. Instead, she is supposed to make sacrifices to ensure that there is absolute law and order within Buckingham Palace. While we are at it, talking about all that must have caused the neglect, let's not rule out the possibility that she might have just decided to disregard bowing altogether. Of course, as we know, the royal monarch system has been going through a kind of metamorphosis in recent years. With King Charles at the helm of it all, their goal is to ensure that their way of operating somehow falls in line with the way things are in the 21st century. Due to these changes, we expect that the royal family will drop a couple of laws or ideologies and adopt newer ones that somehow ease into the current way of life. Still, while they are trying to do this, the aim is also to ensure that this transition doesn't in any way affect the major core values that define the British monarchy system. That said, it's possible that bowing is one of those traditions that are looking to be curbed out from the way of